Hello there, and welcome back to That Park Place. My name is Vash Sky, and I'm here to take you through the numbers that were just recently revealed on Disney's latest earnings call. That would be Q4, fiscal year 2025, if I'm not mistaken. And the numbers are very revealing, but for us theme park fans, well, these ones are particularly interesting. Disney Parks attendance falls in 2025, while prices keep rising. What Disney's new numbers reveal. November 13th, 2025, Marvin Montanaro. Disney has released its fiscal year 2025 numbers, and once again, the story is clear. Disney Parks attendance in the United States is continuing its slow downward slide. The domestic theme parks saw a 1% drop in attendance in 2025, following a 1% increase in 2024. Fewer people are visiting Disney's American parks, something that Park Place has been documenting for months. Yet somehow, Disney is pulling in more money than ever. The explanation is very straightforward. The guests who still show up are paying more, and a lot more. Before we get to that, folks, and how much people might be paying more and how that affects these numbers as well, we have to note this attendance drop. According to the fiscal results, Disney's domestic parks saw a 1% decline in attendance year over year, while international parks grew by 1%. On paper, that might look minor, but in a business this large, a 1% shift represents hundreds of thousands of visits. This also continues a trend from the previous year, where domestic attendance only rose 1%, making it effectively flat over a 2-year period. When a company as large and historically dominant as Disney stops growing its foot traffic at its flagship parks, there's a sign of weakened demand. Yet at the same time, Disney is making more money from every person who steps through its gates. Domestic per guest spending jumped 5% in 2025, up from a 3% increase the year before. International per guest spending rose 2% after a 4% increase the year before. In short, fewer guests, each guest is paying more, and revenue climbed anyway. But here's the very interesting thing. You see, Disney does something particularly interesting with its theme park division, or experiences division. They always compare year over year. Now, there are sound reasons for this. I mean, obviously, if you see trends in domestic theme parks or international theme park attendance, like, for example, let's say you have major holidays that occur within that quarter, or maybe you see just shift in travel patterns that are representative of a unique period of time, then it probably makes sense to compare year over year rather than quarter to quarter. But if we do that, I noticed something very interesting. You can see right here, this is from the Q4 fiscal year 2025 numbers just revealed during Disney's earnings call. And you can see right here, domestic parks when it comes to both operating income and revenue. Now, revenue is how much money they take in, obviously, but operating income is what they use as a metric for profit. You can see right here, year over year, 6% increase. Not too bad, not too shabby. You can see a 9% increase in their operating income as well from year over year. But if we examine from the previous quarter, that being Q3 of fiscal year 2025, well, look at this. Well, that's not quite representative of the numbers that we see here. In fact, if we actually look at the revenue from the domestic park side of things, well, that's actually an 8% decline going from the spring and early summer to the dead heat of summer there, represented in Q4. That's all the way up until October 1st. You can see right here also too, operating income for Q3, that is a market decline from Q4. Now, one could say, well, they made a bunch of investments at that time, which do consume some of that operating income. That is true, but a 45% decline quarter to quarter, that is big times right here. Now, the other thing too, you might be wondering, well, look, if they were to invest in their parks product, perhaps more people would actually go. Perhaps they could overcome these issues of declining attendance. Even if it's just 1%, you could be seeing 20% gains, as we just saw from Epic Universe, right? I believe that was reported not just in, that would be Q2 for Comcast, but also in Q3, the full first summer, a 20% increase in revenues from their theme park division. And so when you're looking at double-digit increases, I would say attendance as well, but certainly revenues, it's like, why won't you invest more in your parks product? And it definitely makes sense. But you know what they're actually investing in? This is very funny. So let's go ahead and go back to another division within the company, and that is content sales, licensing, and other. You can see right here that they've suffered some pretty decent losses, not once, but twice from this division. Now, what's content sales, licensing, and other? Well, that contains their theatrical features. And I mean, we've noted on That Park Place the number of box office bombs that they have had. And it's been unfortunate because whenever you spend a $250 million, $300 million, or $400 million in the case of something like Snow White, and it flops, well, that's that much money that could have necessarily gone into something for the parks, which is why one of the big reasons why we're very critical of their actions when it comes to the theatrical. It's not just about establishing IP or continuing IP, but it's also the money that you could have otherwise spent towards something that is making you money, and that is the theme park division. Well, guess what, folks? For as bad as the content sales, licensing, and other, or their theatrical features have been, well, they're spending more money on entertainment, not less, in 2026. Indeed, they're spending $24 billion as compared to $23 billion in fiscal year 2025. And I believe I think that's like $10 billion more than what Netflix is spending on its content. And, well, we know the results from those investments. The Disney parks are not doing well, and they will continue to not do well until at least some of these investments are activated, that being Piston Peak, for example, Villains Land, Monstropolis. We're still 3 to 5 years from many of those actually opening. And here's the other thing, too. When you look at Tropical Americas in 2027, I believe is when they want a lot of that up. How is the quality going to shape out with something like that? Is that necessarily going to get people in the door, especially for Animal Kingdom, that is struggling more than probably any park out there? What does this whole resort complex look like after all of this? And is that going to turn things around? I'm actually not sure. If attendance is declining now and they're charging more for the same or less people, and we know it's less people, than in prior quarters, where will that get them by the time these investments are actually operational? One could think, oh, maybe people will come, and I suppose people might, but would as many people have showed up to something like Walt Disney World, for example, if there was a steady line of investment over a period of time? You know, they're playing catch up right now, and that's why people aren't going, because so many things are down, walls are up, and the price is too high, and so forth. But if they had kept investing on a regular schedule, then you could have justified some of those price increases. You could have justified it as providing more value. And unfortunately, the company did not do that. And unfortunately, they're going to be paying for this for quite a bit of time, not just through capital investment, but also through falling attendance numbers and a changing sentiment regarding the parks. I think that's what we're seeing right here. Here on That Park Place, we will have amazing, tremendous coverage on all things earnings call. That is for sure. Hugh Johnston said some things that were quite interesting regarding Epic. Maybe a little bit of a change in tone from what he spoke about before. Please, if you haven't, hit that subscribe button so we can go ahead and deliver that content to you. Hit the like button if you like this video. That way I know that you enjoy the content that we are actually producing. I think that would be tremendously helpful. Hey, if you have some high points left, go ahead and include those as well. I have no idea what it does, but I believe it might help us out. And if somebody is asking about these numbers and wants a breakdown from a theme park perspective, why don't you go ahead and share this video as well? I think that would be pretty darn cool for them. Thank you so much for watching That Park Place, for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.